All right. So we got describe what the Great Compromise was. How did this compromise solve the dispute between New Jersey and the Virginia Plan? There you go. So political parties emerging at this time, creation of a new government. We already know the Federalists, the Anti-Federalists, some founding fathers that belong to each political party. We talked about the New Jersey plan. We talked about the Virginia plan. And we talked about this compromise to accept qualities, ideas of both. So describe it and determine how it solved the dispute between these two plans. All right, so great compromise. What did this do here? Who came up with the idea? Let's start there. Who came up with the idea? Taylor? A Sherman tank from World War II? Tanner?
Roger Sherman and Oliver Ellsworth.
Okay, good job, Roger Sherman. And what's another name for the Great Compromise? Go ahead. Tanner?
Oh, it was the Connecticut Compromise.
Yeah, the Connecticut Compromise. Good job. Good job. And what did this compromise aim to do? What did it accomplish? Jeffrey.
The accomplishment was that it was able to take parts of the New Jersey plan and the Virginia plan and make it one plan that both sides would agree upon.
Yeah, good job, good job. So with the debate, Virginia plan based off of population, okay, representation based off population. So these bigger states would have the ability to dictate what goes on. Like Virginia, they had a large population. They paid most of the bills because of the tobacco trade. And with New Jersey, they didn't have at the time a big population, but they wanted equal representation, right? Each state should have an equal vote. And describe the compromise. What was involved with this Connecticut plan? So there would be a 3-branch system, right? Yeah, okay, 3-branch system, legislative, executive, judicial. And at the same time, we'd have a bicameral, unicameral system, legislature. What would we have? Taylor? Bicameral, 2 houses, good job. So they have the House of Representatives, and was that based off of population or was that equal representation? Madden? The House of Representatives based off of population or would it be based off of equal representation? Population. So they're taking that Virginia plan, putting it for the House of Representatives. Good. And then for the Senate, obviously, is equal representation. So taking that idea of the New Jersey plan. All right, awesome. So this great compromise solves some disputes amongst the founding fathers. Today we'll be mentioning a little bit more, okay, something that's going to be a thorn in the side of America's history for quite a bit of time, moving up until the Civil War, which we'll talk about. So already with the start of our nation, the origins of our nation, and this new form of government after the Articles of Confederation, it's already building up towards the Civil War and disputes amongst different areas, different states in the U.S. Okay, so that being said, I'm going to come around and check your bell ringers and your assignment from yesterday. The Great Compromise. I see a lot of you turned it in. Good job. Have both of those out. I'm going to come around and check. How many bell ringers you got? 4. Sure. Daniel, good work. Have those 2 ready to roll. Oh. It is. Good work. Yep. Good. Yep. All right. Good. All right. Good.
Oh.
Ooh, couple done.
My bad.
Sure. All right, good job, man. Bell ringer. Right. Yep. Oh, it's a Beowulf. Okay, Brock. Nice. Awesome. Still waiting on Jeffrey here. Ellen. Good. Oh, look at that. Nice. Candace. Oh, split screen. Perfect. Yeah. Wish everybody do that, huh? Hello. Come back. Maybe I can check on my end too, Jeffrey. Terrence. Nice. Awesome. Okay, towards the end of class, we have some time. Just come over. you submit it?
Yeah.
No. Sarah, did you submit it online?
I just like marked it.
Okay. All right. Okay. Rem? Are you kidding? What about bell ringer?
Wait, Bowman, that was the wrong one too.
With the bell ringers?
That was a compromise.
Oh, really?
That was my Missouri compromise.
Oh, Missouri Compromise. We didn't get that far yet.
Yeah, this is
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Carl? Okay, good. I'll hold on. Yeah. Okay, good job. Esther? Yeah, finished up?
fine.
No? Okay. Angel?
Okay, I have the bell ringers done, I just don't have the compromise.
All right, term's coming up. Just one, that's it. Just one. I'll have those grades in right away, right away. There you go, 3/5 compromise. Yep, bring it up here. Get access to it. Good work, sir.
No. Stop. No. I will.
All right, 3/5 compromise. What do we have? Taylor, go ahead.
So it was an agreement we started during the 17 in determining the state's total population, the count, when determining the seats in the House of Representatives.
Okay, good job, good job. So this is going to be a debate moving forward. It's almost like a bargaining chip with the North and the South, and how representation is going to be placed with the states and also with tax purposes. And we're going to talk about that right now. So the three-fifths compromise, sticky subject here, very sticky. But this was an idea that the North, actually, the free states, so Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, and we're really moving up north from there. They agreed that, well, we can't have each slave to be used as representation, because we will never really have a say in government ever again, right? And at the same time, the South, did they treat slaves like people? No. So with that being said, there's already a clear argument, okay? And the South saw this as an advantage. You're like, well, if they're people, it's stated in the Constitution that slaves, African Americans are people, then they should be chosen as representation, right? This population is based off of representation. So the South saw this as an advantage, a clear advantage. You're like, well, they're counted as people, it's counted as representation for us. And we can dictate what goes on, right? So if you look at the House of Representatives, then based off of population, these states will have obviously more representation than the North. So they'll dictate what goes on, what happens. And at this moment, at this time, these southern states wanted more of a state right position. Okay. They didn't really want to have a stronger national government. Why? Because who was making all the money at this time? The southern states, through agriculture, through trade, through tobacco, indigo, you name it, right? You name it. The northern states, on the other hand, at this time, they did have a larger population when it comes to white citizens, free citizens. And they thought, well, if each slave is counted as representation, then we're going to lose every single battle that we debate against. And every topic that's brought up at the national level, we won't be able to have any type of say on what goes on in any type of matters. So the North was fighting against this, saying, well, if we allow representation for these slaves, then that's taxable income, right? That's taxable for each person. And you think the South wanted to pay taxes on every single slave like that? No, no, not at all. That would really put these plantation owners in a hard situation. Right? It'd be very difficult for them to even put their head above water, especially when we had to pay back these war debts. All right, so the agreement came, well, what about 3/5? Okay, 3/5. This will allow for representation to be equal amongst the North and the South, because at that time, there's more citizens, free citizens in the North compared to the South. But when you add slaves into it, 3/5, it roughly becomes equal. So at that moment, the North had roughly around 1.8 million people. The South, considering 3/5 of these slaves were added on, was about 1.7. So fairly even, right? Fairly even. So do you think that will change moving through the 1800s though? Yeah, drastically, drastically. So closer towards the 1850s, with the slave population becoming larger and larger and larger as the United States is becoming even more of an agricultural society, these numbers will reach 4 million in the South. Whoop, 4 million. So when you're looking at the statistics, who would definitely have more say in government than the South? It won't even be close, right? And to think about it, a lot of their representation, a lot of their population is coming from slaves, which they don't even treat as people. So with that being said, it would have been very, very lopsided when it comes to arrangements, when it comes to decision making at the national level. So the North, these abolitionists actually came up with this idea to try to preserve the Union. Without this 3/5 compromise, we wouldn't have had a United States, right? The decisions moving forward with creating a constitution and forming a new government would have ended right then and there. So from the talks of this, just trying to reestablish and try to forget about the Articles of Confederation moving forward, it would have ended from the very beginning with this debate already about slaves and what type of representation, what types of taxes should be placed on this population. Many considered, well, if this wouldn't occurred, if this compromise wouldn't have been reached, the North would have been obviously the North, free states, would have been its own separate country. The South would have been its own separate country. And already the division in the United States would have been alarming. It already would have been established. The Civil War, right? It wouldn't have been broken apart. These countries would have been separate from the very, very beginning. Does that make sense? So they would have had their two totally different governments, two totally different nations, if this compromise wasn't reached. So again, the 3/5 compromise was very, very important when establishing this country and holding it together. Obviously, they're going to be fighting it out sooner or later, right? 80 years from this point, 70 years, whatever have you, this will spark into the Civil War. But already in the creation of this new government, okay, our government, the United States government, is already debate about slaves, okay, about slavery. And the South wanted to make sure that they had representation, so they wanted to count the population towards representation. The North says, no, well, if you're going to do that, we're going to tax every individual like it's a person. The South didn't want that, obviously. So they made an agreement on 3/5. Okay, 3/5. All right, is there any questions on the 3/5 compromise? You see how important it really was, right? If this wasn't an agreement, if this wasn't brought up from the very beginning, we would have had two separate countries from the start of it, from really the conclusion of this constitutional convention. All right, you guys good with that? 3/5 compromise? Awesome, awesome. So moving on here, commerce and slavery. Like I mentioned, southern states don't want to give up the national power, regulate trade and commerce. Northern states did. Okay, so the northern states wanted to have the national government, the federal government control trade with other countries, control trade amongst these different states. Southern states obviously didn't want that because a lot of the money coming from the South, right? Coming from the sell, the trade of tobacco with other countries. They were making the most money. So they wanted to dictate and control their own trade with other foreign countries. But hey, we all know that should be controlled by the national government, by the federal government. If we have states just reaching agreements, trading with other countries, then what's the point of even having the national government, right? If states are allowed to just trade with whoever they would like, whoever they would want. It's kind of like we wouldn't even have a national government at that point. It would show that what they were fighting for here, what the founding fathers were trying to establish, and it just meant nothing then. So the northern states, they wanted to try to push for commerce or trade at the federal level. And how they get the agreement of the South? Well, we're going to allow for slavery, right? We're going to reach an agreement with the South saying with the national government, the federal government can control trade with other countries. It's not a state power, not a state level power. And the southern states can indulge into slavery yet. They can still have slavery established. So you see how already this divide is going to occur, how this divide with the North and South is already shaping up. All right, and here's just a picture. Hopefully it doesn't crash. It seems like it might. There we go. This is just a picture of the slave trade. Okay, I'm sure you guys seen this before in some of your other courses, your other classes, and how this all went down, and how really from revising the Articles of Confederation, establishing a new government, this topic of debate of slavery occurred from the very, very beginning. Right? How sooner or later tensions are going to rise to a civil war. Okay. Any questions on that, guys? So you see how important the 3/5 compromise was. You can see how the debates and the arguments and the decisions that are being made was really just trying to have leverage over one another and to try to compromise, to come together to form a national government that is persuaded and beneficial towards the North and the South. And again, one of the key fundamental issues was slavery. Okay. Well, that's all I have for today. What I want you guys to work on, what's going to be Tuesday, I don't have an assignment on Canvas, but I know I like to have political cartoons. I show them all the time. I want you to create your own political cartoon for the Great Compromise. Okay? For the Great Compromise. So if you want to, you can draw it out, take a picture of it, and that would be good. That would be obviously something you can do. Or if you have an app on your iPad to create your own political cartoon, do that too. Whatever. But you're going to make a political cartoon that is describing the Connecticut plan, the Great Compromise. Okay? All right, that's going to be due Tuesday. We're going to review over those on Tuesday. How would I make a Dropbox here? I'll make an assignment so you can submit it when you're finished and I have it. And then obviously on Tuesday, I like to see them. So I'll make a Dropbox and assignment box for you right now. Okay, that's all I got. So use your time wisely. Come up with an idea to represent this